For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kevlu and Seasons of Sandbox.
Since the Sandbox YouTube fans, what's going on? We're back in the booth, in the studio, with some NFL coverage, guys. We talked about some fantasy coverage this week, so go to our podcast and check out our potential big fantasy names or our potential fantasy flops. So definitely go and check that out. We got those 2 episodes coming to you this week. But this YouTube episode, we're going to be talking about our NFL teams with the most to prove. I think this is going to be interesting because there's a lot of teams in the NFL that have a lot to prove. Lou,
Facts.
Why don't you dive in first?
First one, man. I hate to say it, but it's the Colts.
Oh, wow.
The whole narrative was the last 2 seasons was it's just the QB. We have the defense, the running game, the coaches, the special teams, and now more weapons, supposedly. Now the quarterback's here. It's put up or shut up. That's it. Yeah. Tennessee's on a little bit of decline. Jacksonville's got a rookie QB, and the Texans are abysmal.
Yeah.
The schedule is tough, but that's what makes it. You know what I mean? Every team that's won the Super Bowl has had a tough primetime schedule, and if the Colts can't step up to the occasion, then the Wentz experiment's been a fail. We'll know by week 7 this year if they're a contender or if...
Pretender.
Pretender. That's really what it is.
I love that.
Yeah, Lou, and you know, usually I always hear you talking on the upside with the Colts. So
I think it's going to be up, but if it's not, then there's no excuses anymore. Zero excuses left.
True. No, I like you getting a little critical with it too. So
have to.
I appreciate it. And that's why I'm biased here at Since the Sandbox, with the exception of Kev, because he only roots for 4 teams. Only 4 teams.
That's in the NFL.
Yeah.
But guys, a team, and I think you guys would agree, team with the absolute most to prove. Like this offseason, they have the most to prove. Arizona. The Cardinals. I mean, Kyler has a lot to prove. Kingsbury has a lot to prove. James Conner has a lot to prove. We talked about it. They said
JJ too.
Yeah, JJ Watt. I mean, what's he been the past 3 years in his career? You know what I mean?
Nada.
It's that time, like you said for the Colts. It's time to put up or shut up. That's a tough division. Yeah, it's cool that you can go and beat Seattle twice a year. That's great.
It's great. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what are you going to do to follow up with that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
After they beat the Buffalo Bills last year, we didn't hear about them. That was a great win, but you got to build on that.
Yeah.
Arizona Cardinals have a lot to prove.
Yeah. So, yes, 100%. And this team, at least in my opinion, is hands down the second team with the most to prove.
Ooh.
And it's the same division. And it's the Rams.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, kind of along like what you said with the Colts, like the quarterback thing. And not that Jared Goff was bad, but it's like you're coming out again with what most people would consider the best defense in the league. You now have a young stud running back who now has a full season under his belt. And now you're adding an elite quarterback. You know what I mean?
Supposedly.
Or supposedly elite quarterback. We'll see this season. This is going to be a big test. So I really don't, like you said, Lou, with the Colts, there's really no excuses this year. And I know that division's tough, toughest division in football. But like you said, Lou, Super Bowl teams win Super Bowl caliber games, beat Super Bowl caliber teams, which is what the NFC West is filled with, Super Bowl caliber teams. So, I mean, if I'm the Rams, like anything short of, you know, an NFC championship I would consider a fail. I mean, even that would be a fail, but anything short of that is 100% a fail. But if I'm the Rams, and obviously every team's going into the season expecting to make a Super Bowl, but, like, they should really, like, be gung-ho, like, tunnel vision to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
No, I think you have great points. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I feel like
especially this year, too, because, like, the Saints are down. We don't know if Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay. Like, there's a lot of teams that were in the Rams' way that are set back this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, like, the only team coming back just as strong as they were last year in the NFC is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what I mean?
I think San Fran's coming back stronger.
San Fran's definitely coming back stronger. As far as it goes with the Rams, I feel like that's interesting because I feel like this is a specific category when we're talking about most to prove. And yeah, that team has a lot to prove based on the moves that they've made inside their organization. Like they committed to a first-round pick and dropped him like that. Mm-hmm. You know, after paying him too. Right. So that's definitely a hefty thing. I feel like they might have the most pressure rather than having to be the team that has the most to prove.
Yes.
Because I feel like I don't know how to say it, but with them having two of the best defenders in Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, what else did they need to prove? Like, I'm just trying to think of it in a different perspective. I'm not saying that you're wrong by saying they're a team that most approved, but they probably have just as high as expectations as Tampa Bay and Kansas City do.
Yeah.
And you expect Kansas City and Tampa Bay to be in the championship game. That's a team that's expected to be in the championship game. So a little give and take there. Another team that I think has a lot to prove, and the rest of my teams all come from the AFC, and I think the AFC is really competitive this year. I'm going to kick it off with Kansas City. I think Kansas City has a lot to prove, and we saw Tom Brady come in with Tampa Bay in one offseason, come in, handle them like that. Is it just Tom Brady, or are there other teams that are going to start to pick up on that? Yeah, we know the Raiders can beat them twice a year. That's great. You can say, you beat them in the regular season all you want. You guys stink.
Yeah.
So,
it doesn't matter.
So Kansas City has a lot to prove. Patrick Mahomes has a lot to prove. Andy Reid has a lot to prove. They have a brand new offensive line. The weapons are still there. Is Mahomes gonna still entertain the new GOAT, the baby GOAT, whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Or is it gonna be the Russell Wilson thing? He was a great quarterback that got into a good scenario his first couple years in the league, went to back-to-back, title games, and after that, his career kind of dies down. If that's the case, I think that would be a big shot to the heart for Kansas City, especially committing $500 million. Billion.
And the jury's out, kind of. It's like you just rushed them with 4, and if you can get through, like I said, the Colts did it first. Then the Raiders tried to do it. I mean, that's more on a division basis like that. That's a rivalry. You know what I mean? That doesn't matter at all. But then Tampa did it, and it's like that game wasn't competitive at all.
Yeah.
And you could say, like, Mahomes did the best he could do, but it's like,
it wasn't good enough.
if you're that great of a QB, you make adjustments at halftime, and they made zilch. Nada. Not one adjustment, period. It was like, all right, we're going to get outside the pocket. We'll see if he can sling it downfield.
He might have adjusted his helmet from being hit so many times.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, that's why they committed that much money.
Oh, and he was hit so many times. The poor guy. It's football, dude. You're supposed to get hit. But the team, I think, has a lot to prove just because we've been hearing about them being so great for the last couple seasons. It's the Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean,
shout out Tony.
They have a good defense. They have a solid O-line. They have a good up-and-coming running back, and they just drafted a wide receiver in the first round. And they got another good defense. They have 2 first-round picks this season with an MVP quarterback. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the year you put all the chips in, and we really see what they're about. It's the same thing with the Colts. You have it all figured out now.
Put up or shut up.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
There's no more. He doesn't have weapons, or you know what I mean? He's running it this many times, or the O-line's not there. It's all there, dude. It's up to Harbaugh to figure it out.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, think those are great pickups. You know what I'm saying?
You've got 3 first-round wide receivers on the team.
Yeah. You know what I think it comes down to for Baltimore? I think that defense needs to be significantly better next year. And they were a solid unit last year, but 2 years ago they were significantly better than they were defensively. I think if they can make stops, I think that offense is going to be very draining on an opposing team.
Definitely.
All right, my last team. I saved the best for last.
Let's take a
Those
guess.
New England Patriots, baby.
Shocker.
Again, I mean, I do think they have a lot to prove. Am I going to sit here and say, Pats Nation's expecting them to be in a Super Bowl? No, because I don't think that's a realistic possibility. I definitely expect them to compete for a division title, you know what I mean? And, maybe even sneak into a wild card if they don't win the division and maybe win one playoff game. Like, I'll tell you right now, I don't expect the Pats to be in a Super Bowl this year. I just think the AFC is too good. It's too deep. Like you said, you got the Colts, the Ravens, Indy, even Cleveland. Like, just teams that are more, I guess, put together and more... fluent. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't know. Like, we're dealing with a team that's a whole bunch of new pieces. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got 2 new tight ends. You got new wide receivers. Like, we're going to have to see how they all mesh.
Well, it's usually, they kind of did it backwards because usually it's you get the quarterback and build around him, and he elevates everybody. Now they're hoping and praying that everyone else can elevate him.
Yeah, exactly.
In hopes that someone can take over and take the reins.
And that's why there's a big question mark. Again, like, do I expect them to be good? Do I expect them to have, 10 wins or at least close to 10 wins? Yes. Do I expect them to compete with the Bills for the division and even the Dolphins maybe possibly? Yes. But I don't expect them to be in a Super Bowl. But I do still think they have a lot to prove, going off of last year. Just because it's Bill B, it's the Pats. We're a way better roster, night and day roster than we were last year. So they have a lot to prove.
The reason why I think the Pats have a lot to prove is partially on the fan base. And I think the fan base puts in huge expectations. And, yeah, you guys had a great offseason. But how many times has the team that won the offseason translated in one in the year? Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely, I'm not sitting here saying that the Pats aren't going to be competitive. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think it's more realistic and more hopeful to say that the Pats are going to get in with a wild card than to compete for the division. I'm not saying that they're not going to compete for it. I think it's going to be tough for them to be able to necessarily split with Miami and Buffalo. And I know that they've done that over the past, but you still have a lot of new faces.
Right, and that's why it's so tough with the Pats, because I feel like even the wild card, like the AFC's so deep, like a team like Cleveland, right? Like if Pittsburgh wins that, like a team like Cleveland will probably get in over them. Like, you know what I mean? A team like Indy, say Indy doesn't win their division, even though like they should. Like teams like that are going to take wild card spots away from the Pats. That's why I'm hoping they can. That's why I'm hoping they can compete for the division, because I think not that that's the easiest way in the playoffs, but I definitely think. You know, they're not on anyone's radar for, like, a top wild card team in the AFC right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and to go off of that, Lou, I'm sure you would double down on this, too. Like, I think it just depends on, like, the scenario. But if we had to tear up, like, AFC teams, I mean, obviously, I would probably say KC and Baltimore. You know, I would maybe even toss, like, Indy in that conversation. I'd probably Buffalo.
Right,
I'd put Buffalo in there probably before Indy, but I'd still think Indy can be in, depending on wins. But if not, then I think like that second tier could argue if Indy's a second tier team, they would definitely be the top of that second tier. But like a Pittsburgh team, a Cleveland team, a Titans team, I feel
Miami.
That those are the teams that the Pats have to show that they're significantly better than. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that goes to show. And a team that we just mentioned with those AFC teams, Cleveland. Last year they were great.
Right.
Those expectations, I never expected Cleveland to win like they did with a first-year head coach in Kevin Stefanski, especially after losing Odell. They improved this offseason. I think that Cleveland to win another 10 games would be tough. I feel like last year, the way it ended with Pittsburgh, couldn't have worked out more perfect for Cleveland.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of their wins last year were like, I don't know. I don't want to say lucky, but like definitely could have turned out, differently.
Like they got the Steelers on the bad end twice. They got the Colts without Darius Leonard.
That's what I'm saying.
They got in KC with a squeak. You know what I mean? KC pip squeaked by them because of Chad Henne.
No, you're right.
Like, what are the odds that happens again? And I think can they come back through the adversity? Like, do they have it in them to just not buy into their own hype and just like, this is a new start? Like, it has to be all on us. And is Baker that good?
I was just going to say, the other question is, can Baker keep up that level of play? You don't know.
No.
You don't know.
With that little intos, not a chance.
No, I don't think so either. It's going to be interesting for Cleveland. That's going to be a team that is either going to extremely devastate their fan base or completely surprise other fan bases.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But, guys, that's going to wrap things up for our NFL teams with the most approved. Like we said earlier, go and check out our other fantasy content. We just brought you guys our first fantasy episodes of the year, of the season, and our potential big fantasy names and our potential fantasy flops. Guys, go to sincethesandbox.net, get your merch, and leave us a 5-star review because we give you guys great and amazing content. If you don't want to go to our website and do it, you can go and check out our podcast on Apple Podcast and leave us the 5 stars there. But if it ain't 5 stars, guys, we don't want it.
Keep it.
Yep. Peace out.
For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kevlu and Seasons a Sandbox.